Just found out that my wife cheated on me back in 2008 when we were dating. First things first, I have no plans to divorce my wife. I'm not so much seeking advice as I am just trying to vent because this hurts bad, and I'm not sure to whom else I can turn to get this off my chest. An old friend of my wife, whom we have not seen in years, reached out to me last night and emailed me screen caps of some email exchanges they had at the time that detailed a fling my wife had with another man back while we were still dating long distance. She said she wanted to clear her conscience after all this time, but I was still skeptical at first. It took place in the 2 months leading up to me moving in with her. She definitely had sex with the guy at least once and they went on several dates. I logged into her email at about 2 a.m. this morning and verified that these emails were real, and I found some more emails she sent to another friend with more of her details and feelings. We've both grown a lot since then. Our marriage has been truly great, but reading some of the shit she said back then just gutted me. She said she knew what she was doing was wrong, though she didn't necessarily feel guilt. She said that she loved the way I made her feel when we were together, but she got really lonely when I left and that she had made up her mind to basically live like she was single for the 3 weeks each month that I wasn't there. Hell, she even kicked around the idea of breaking up with me to pursue a relationship with the other guy. Like I said, we currently have a great marriage and I have zero intention of pursuing a divorce. I'm not even sure I'm going to confront her about it because it was so long ago. That said, this has really punched me in the gut and I'm not sure I've ever felt this kind of hurt. Thanks for listening to me and letting me vent Reddit. Update. I got back home on Sunday after a weekend work meeting that was out of state. I asked her if we could talk and I told her that I knew she had cheated on me. She held back tears as she confessed that she had indeed carried on a brief relationship with another man while we were dating, shortly before I had moved states and we had moved in together. I asked her if there were any other times and she said no. I have faith in her when she says this because I gave no time frame and she corroborated what I had found. I then asked why she kept it from me for so long, and she said she knew how adamant I was that I would never forgive a cheater, and she knew it would destroy both me and our relationship. She then asked for my forgiveness if I could ever forgive her, and I told her that I already had. She cried even more when I told her that the last thing I want is a divorce, because I still love her more than anything in the world, and I'm not willing to throw everything we have away for something that happened 16 years ago. I said that while I love her, I am still very hurt because all of this is new for me and my trust in her is a little shaken for having kept this from me for so long. She understood and offered to let me go through her messages, her email, and her text to prove nothing else had gone on. I declined because I have known all of her passwords and how to unlock her phone, and she has never jealously guarded her devices. We can also track one another's devices, and she has never been somewhere she shouldn't be when I have checked. Finally, I asked why. She said she didn't have a clear answer and she still wasn't totally sure, but she was going through a very self-destructive time in her life, and when this guy came pursuing her hard, it was one more terrible decision in a string of terrible life decisions she had made over the previous year. We embraced and cried. She apologized again, and I told her how much she meant to me. I told her it would take time for me to process all of this and that I would be going through counseling and that I want us to attend marriage counseling for at least a little while, but that I was still madly in love with her. Then she asked me how I found out, and I told her about how her old friend had reached out to me and dropped the news, which caused me to check her emails and corroborate this information. Apparently, they had a pretty serious falling out a while back after my wife had loaned the friend a good amount of money after the friend's husband had taken everything and left her high and dry. Yes, we both have discretionary accounts. No, I do not worry about what she does with her own money. Yes, I knew about the loan. Instead of using the money to get back on her feet, her friend had used it for really expensive, unneeded stuff and a vacation with some other girlfriends. Needless to say, my wife was pissed. She asked for her money back and it led to a big fight. They have barely spoken since, and this will probably officially end their relationship as my wife thinks this could be payback for cutting off her friend. I have my first session with a new therapist later this week. We have a session with a marriage counselor next week. I am hopeful that we will come through this ordeal just as strong as we were before. To those who offered me genuine advice, thank you. While I was not necessarily looking for advice when I first posted, there was some sage wisdom in some of your words and it really helped me. Thank you again. OP said that the cheating occurred 16 years ago, and I think I can understand his reasoning for not really wanting to confront his wife. However, I'd still be incredibly pissed off, and out of principle, I think I'd lean toward breaking off the relationship. This might sound like something an incel or a terminally online person would say, but I really do get the vibe that OP's wife went out and had fun with no consequences, only to return to a stable and reliable person like OP. This feels a bit cucky to me. A deleted user said OP doesn't realize it yet, but he's at the beginning of a very long road with an uncertain ending. Reconciling after infidelity is very, very difficult, and even with the cheater truly showing remorse and making changes, sometimes the betrayed partner just can't get over it, despite doing the work. I've seen this with a friend. His wife cheated on him, he found out, and they spent 3 years in reconciliation. He tried his hardest to get over it, especially since they have a son, but he said that in the end, although he got over the hurt, he realized the whole situation had poisoned his love for her, and he couldn't live with someone he didn't love anymore. She had the nerve to be angry at him for throwing away all her hard work to try and fix things as if she wasn't the reason they had to repair things in the first place. Honestly, he would have been better off separating when he found out. Not to say that reconciliation can't work, but the odds aren't great. User time anything said, I really hope that it works out for OP. I know a lot of people on this site hate this, but people can change and grow, and they may not make the same mistake, especially over the course of 16 years. OP even said that his wife was 25 and going through a rough patch. It doesn't make it okay, but it doesn't mean she had to have made the same mistake again. Also, this falling out with her friend happened recently, so if OP's wife had cheated more recently, the friend would have used that as ammo instead of something that happened 16 years ago. If OP went through 16 years of his wife's emails, he would have found other evidence of cheating if she had done it again. User Matt DVS said, what strikes me as weird about this is that she got mad at the friend for ratting her out, meaning she had no intention of ever confessing this to him. I really doubt she has felt guilt over this the whole time. Having been married for 20 years, I don't know that I would blow up my marriage over finding out my wife cheated on me when we were dating either, but I would not be nearly as willing to just sweep this under the rug and immediately forgive her as he is. This next post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named CCTV. The post is titled AITA for refusing to forgive my ex-best friend and other friends even after 6 years. I used to be best friends with Anna since high school. She was popular and outgoing while I was the introverted, nerdy friend. In high school, I had a crush on Ethan, but I assumed he'd prefer Anna, so I stayed out of it. They started dating and I supported her with reluctance because of their toxic on and off relationship. Over time, I grew to dislike Ethan because he was rude and mean. They broke up when we were 21 but got back together a year later and eventually got engaged at 23. 3 months before the wedding, Ethan drunkenly called me asking why I rejected him. I dismissed him, said he was drunk, and ended the call. The very next day, I was kicked out of group chats and ghosted by everyone else in our friend circle. When I texted my friends to ask what happened, they gave me the silent treatment. When I reached out to Anna, I found myself blocked. Desperate, I even tried calling Ethan, but my number was blocked too. I had no idea what I'd done wrong and wished anyone would tell me. That week was hell. Anna's silence hurt the most because at the time, she meant everything to me. I barely slept, battling panic attacks at night while trying to keep it together for class during the day. If not for my supportive roommates who helped me through my panic attacks, I don't know how I would have made it through. Anna and I attended the same local university but took different courses. I waited for her outside her class. When she came out with her friends, I pulled her aside and asked what was going on. She accused me of being a fake friend who tried to steal Ethan. I denied her accusation and asked for proof, but she went silent and left. They didn't unfriend me on Facebook, but kept posting about their hangouts and the bridal shower, along with indirect jabs at me. I eventually deleted my old account and changed my number. I slowly rebuilt my self-esteem and moved on. I recently created a new Facebook account. A few days ago, I was added to a group chat for our upcoming reunion, which I had no idea about. They greeted me, calling me class president, as if they hadn't shunned me 6 years ago. I left the group, but they kept messaging me. Anna kept calling, so I finally picked up out of annoyance. She told me that she was sorry for everything and wished for me to come to the class reunion party. The party didn't seem to be complete without the class president every year. She told me that she divorced Ethan after 2 years of marriage. She tried to reach out to me but couldn't find any of my socials or contact info after we graduated. I asked her why she was telling me all this when she was no longer important to me. She cried. I ended the call and continued ignoring their messages on Messenger. My family says forgiveness is for my own peace and that it doesn't mean forgetting, but I don't feel anything anymore, only indifference. I don't owe them anything to ease their guilt. Update. Just a quick disclaimer. I created my Facebook account 2 weeks ago after mustering the courage from my past trauma. I used fake names and ages for anonymity. In reality, we're all 29. My friendship with Anna fell apart when I was 23, and now, 6 years later, we're 29. I know no one has noticed this so far, but I just wanted to clarify. Some people from my previous post suggested that I reach out to Ethan. However, before I could do so, he reached out to me first. Yesterday, I received a friend request from him along with a message saying hi in my messenger. So we talked. He invited me for coffee this weekend so we could talk about it, but I told him not to push his luck and just answer me. I asked him about his call that night. Since most boys were too intimidated to approach me, they often asked Anna to convey their feelings to me. Ethan was one of them. Apparently, many boys had a crush on me back then, but at the time, only Anna received open confessions, so I assumed I was undesirable. Not that it mattered to me. I was foolishly infatuated with Anna, so much so that I would have rolled out a red carpet for her to walk on if I could. She was my entire world back then. Not once had I ever heard about boys in high school liking me from Anna. Apparently, Anna would always come back to them with her apologetic face, telling them that I had rejected them and repeating the insults I had supposedly said about them. No wonder some people back in high school called me arrogant and disliked me. I just thought it was because I was a strict class president and student committee member. Unlike Anna, who was friendly and charming, I was strict, sharp-tongued, and rarely smiled. I don't owe anyone a smile. Ethan explained that he was mean to me back then because Anna told him I had said he was an orphan abandoned by his parents. This was a particularly sensitive topic for him, as he had been raised by his grandparents since childhood. He later discovered the truth when Anna inadvertently admitted it during an argument. That moment led him to file for divorce. Ethan shared that he genuinely did love Anna, but her constant insecurity and habit of bringing up my name in every argument strained their relationship. She either accused Ethan of still thinking about me or compared him to me. Anna did find out about Ethan's drunken call that very same night. They had an argument and Ethan came close to calling off the wedding, but Anna guilt-tripped him into staying. Neither Ethan nor Anna lied or twisted the story. Anna simply told our entire friend group to stop talking to me. They knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but somehow it was still my fault that Ethan had unresolved feelings toward me. I was an introvert and most of my friends back then were hers. It wasn't surprising that they followed her lead when she turned against me. They were always her friends, not mine. Anna and my ex-classmates then painted me as a villain to the other friends from high school. Ethan didn't do anything to help me because he was manipulated into hating me. His words, not mine. That's why I changed my number and deleted all my social media accounts. While no one directly bombarded me with mean messages, I constantly saw posts that seemed aimed at me, even though my name was never mentioned. Ethan only revealed everything to the other friends after his divorce from Anna was finalized. Now Anna and my ex-classmates are the ones being shunned by the others since 2 years ago. Ethan said he owed me an apology, though he knew it wouldn't be enough after everything that happened. While he never smeared my name, he stood on the sidelines and did nothing simply because I rejected him and called him an abandoned orphan during high school. He asked me if I would be going to the upcoming reunion party. It turns out the reunion party this time was for the 1995 high school batch. My ex-classmates probably wanted their former class president to attend for appearances. I told him I wouldn't go. He said I could sit with him and his ex-classmates if I wanted to. Why would I? Brother enough. I told him I wouldn't be attending because I have no friends from high school. He mentioned that the others would be sad if they heard I said that. Well, screw them. I received a lot more messages from old friends, but I didn't respond to any of them. I have no attachment to them. I told Anna that Ethan had already told me everything. She called me on Messenger again, sobbing. She admitted she might have been a terrible friend, but that she did care about me. All those years, I was always on her mind. I was too attached to her back then because she was my first real friend. I had no friends in middle school. I was too shy and quiet to make friends. Anna taught me how to make friends and overcome my social anxiety, introducing me to a lot of people. I learned to cook for her and took care of her when she was sick. I even protected her from creeps. Everything I did was for her. Now that I think about it, it was kind of unhealthy. Maybe she wanted me to be that version of myself again, only for her convenience. She begged me to try again, saying she would be a better person for me, but I just ended the call and blocked her. After a few minutes of contemplation, I decided to delete my Facebook account again. I have a feeling that if I didn't, they would keep bothering me. I'll settle for a fake account. The main reason why I made my Facebook account is to play Harvest Town anyway. Sorry for the long post. This will be my one and only update. I want to thank the 4 people who personally messaged me on Reddit. Your messages meant a lot, as not many people have done so much for me in my life. I hope my update answered your questions. Farewell. User Gypsy Jazz said, "There's definitely power in having the ability to forgive someone, but no one should feel obligated to do it. I don't see any reason for OP to forgive Anna in this scenario, especially if she feels she has moved on. Forgiveness only serves to absolve Anna of her guilt. It may just be me, but I'd be petty enough to respond and say I've heard your apology, but I don't forgive you. As far as I see it, the trash took care of itself 6 years ago, and she has no desire to have it back in her life, especially now that she has genuine friends." User Lactard Banana said, "One day you learn how meaningless high school and all the drama and friendships associated with that time were." User Make It Cool said, "OP is in a better place right now, and I hope she realizes she doesn't need to deal with that BS from the past. If Anna truly wanted to reconcile, she should have done it one-on-one instead of this half-assed, we need our class president approach. Personally, I don't think 6 years is that long a time for something like this to be water under the bridge." This last post was made in the same subreddit by a user named Application Large. The post is titled AITA for giving my daughter a breakdown of what it cost to raise her when she asked me for her university funds. My daughter Ava was a handful growing up. Her dad passed away when she was 5, and even with therapy, she was a very angry child. I still love her very much. She is my daughter, and I would do anything for her that I can. Her dad didn't have a lot of insurance, but enough to pay off a small house, set aside an emergency fund, and top up my daughter's 529 education fund. I kept adding to it over the years. Nothing much, but as I could. When she was 11, I met and married my husband. I thought Ava was okay with it. She never brought up any problems to me or in our therapy sessions. She was not okay. When she was 13, she accused him of something inappropriate. I called the police immediately. He was arrested and lost his job. He was innocent. She did it to get rid of him. We divorced. I was obviously heartbroken. I did my best not to take it out on her, but I did punish her. She started acting out and got expelled from school, then another school. I ended up having to send her to a private school. Even with a voucher, it was expensive. It worked though. She is graduating this year with honors and a scholarship. Recently, she asked me about the money in her account. I told her it was all gone. She became very upset because her scholarship won't cover all costs, and even with financial aid, she will still have to pay a fair amount. I said I would co-sign a student loan for what she needs. She wanted to know where the money went that I wasted. So I got out a pen and paper and wrote it all down. The cost of my divorce, the rising cost of living that I paid for by myself since I didn't have a partner, her tuition and fees for private school. By the end, she was crying and saying that I was blaming her for everything. I never have. I did punish her for the trouble she caused with my ex, but I think that was reasonable. She is upset that she will have to take out a loan. I also made it very clear that I would not be responsible for paying it back. She thinks I'm being cruel by saying that she is responsible for the stupid things she did as a child. I'm not. But I cannot pull the money I had to spend because of her out of thin air. Update. First, my ex was completely cleared. He was never home at the time she alleged the SA. We have security cameras in my house, and there are exactly 0 videos of him entering her room or being inappropriate with her in the common areas. I have already commented on the other evidence that got the charges against my ex dropped. She admitted the truth and said that she was doing it to get him out of our house. He is doing okay now, he has a new job, and he and I still talk. Her excuse was that she didn't think I would immediately call the cops. She thought I would just kick him out since it is my house. She felt trapped and like she couldn't back down. She has never apologized to him. She has been in therapy since she was 5, both on her own and with me. To my knowledge, she never mentioned anything about assault to her therapist, and they are mandatory reporters. Second, I told her that I will not be co-signing her loans. I explained that I will support her and do my best to ensure that she does not default, but I am not risking my home or my future for her. She fully understands now where her savings went. She is mostly upset with herself now and realizes that the private school was my last choice and only necessary because of choices she made. Thank you all for your help. Third, since I do not care about karma, I will be giving this account to either you/Frickfrel or you/Vermilion Ocelot tomorrow. They are welcome to delete the posts or sell the account for the 59 cents it is worth. User Morgan and Merlin said, there are so many things in these two posts to comment on, and somehow OP ends it with a snide remark about how her Reddit account is worth 59 cents. That detail seals the deal that this is probably a true, sad, heartbreaking story all around. And yet, I hope OP gets her 59 cents. A deleted user said, therapy since she was 5, yet she still thought it was acceptable to falsely accuse someone and refused to accept the consequences of her actions. What is happening in therapy? Clearly, it's not working. To this user, Hypalicious said, honestly, this is why therapy does not work for anyone unless they really want to change. Therapists aren't miracle workers, and in the worst case scenario, all therapy does is teach a manipulative person how to be a better manipulator. That girl didn't want to change at 5 or at any point after that until she had her FAFO, which seems to be the catalyst for waking her up. User Sweet Axe said, even now, people are pretending as if teens are mentally inept and don't know right from wrong. Sure, the suggestions that the daughter should be locked up or something for her false accusations are extreme, but that doesn't make the comments excusing her actions because she was just a child any less ridiculous. ITA for refusing to get rid of the evidence of my ex's infidelity. I used to be married to my ex, Candy, and I loved her very much. We met in our teens when she moved into the neighborhood right before high school, and I instantly had a crush on her but didn't actually make a move until our senior year. We got married shortly after she graduated college and had 3 children together, Laura, Tom, and Marie. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I thought Candy was happy with the family and life we created. However, I was wrong. Candy was bored with me and wanted more excitement, but instead of confessing her feelings and thoughts to me, she went looking elsewhere. According to her, it all started when Candy and her friends went on a girls' trip to Vegas for a weekend, where she got drunk and had some fun with 2 male strippers. Candy said that while nothing happened beyond second base, it awakened something in her and she regretted not going further. A year after that, she started going to bars and clubs for excitement, and eventually began hooking up with other men, with at least 2 of her girlfriends covering for her. I was never the wiser and probably would still be married to Candy if one of her lovers hadn't secretly documented their moments together. He was mad that she had another guy on the side and mailed the evidence to me as revenge. I was sick at seeing all the things that I did not know about and I didn't respond well. I filed for divorce and my lawyer used some of the evidence that I was given in court, but not all of it because it wasn't necessary. I still have all the evidence that I received, I just kept it in the attic. Recently, my youngest made some not so great choices with an ex-boyfriend and I ended up having to get a lawyer for her. I am amazed at how much the laws have changed, but I'm glad my daughter is protected. After it was over, I had a serious sit down with her and told her to be more mindful and that she should always be prepared for this to hang over her head even if the law is on her side because some guys just don't care. This was a long and deep conversation during which I admitted to Marie how I found out her mom cheated and let it slip that I still had the evidence. 2 days later, Candy was banging at my door, demanding that I give her everything I had and yelling at me for keeping it. I reminded her that those things were given to me before the law prohibited it, so as long as I don't upload or share it anywhere or sell it to anyone, I'm legally in the clear. Candy went crying to our adult children. Marie is fully on her side, which is expected, but Tom and Laura are a little different. When asked why, I told my children that I keep it as a reminder of why I should never care about their mother. Tom feels that since I've never done anything with it before, and as long as I don't, it's okay. While Laura says that she prefers I trash it, but won't cut me off like Marie threatened. Edit, the number of people here who keep asking me the same question, as if I didn't already answer it in the post, is annoying. You can keep asking me why do you still have it, but just know that going forward, I will ignore it. Your dislike or misunderstanding of my answer isn't my problem. I'd also like to thank those who rightly pointed out that I should hang on to it for legal purposes since it is technically evidence. This was a good idea, and I have since explained it to my oldest 2 children who will pass the information along to my ex-wife and my youngest. post. Additionally, please stop insulting my youngest daughter or saying that she's just like her mom and deserved what she went through. My ex was recorded doing something she shouldn't have with someone she should not have. That was her choice and the consequences are on her. Marie never sent anything to her ex. He recorded her without her knowledge while they were together and only revealed it when she tried to break up with him as a way to manipulate her into staying in the relationship. Marie is understandably very sensitive about this issue, so I'm giving her space and I don't believe that she'd actually cut me off. User Derek Baseball said, if you have a will, have your lawyer keep the evidence sealed with the signed and witnessed original of the will. If you don't have a will, get one drawn up. Leave instructions in your will that the evidence be destroyed upon settlement of your estate. If your ex predeceases you, you can instruct your lawyer to destroy it earlier. This way, the evidence is not in your hands, but it is also not destroyed, and there is the assurance that it will be destroyed in the future and won't accidentally end up online. User Mysterious Camp said NTA, people who are that manipulative and deceitful have a way of weaseling back into your good graces only to take advantage again. While she could just be indignant that you have sensitive materials of hers, she might also be outraged knowing it's a significant defense against getting back into your good graces, or that you have concrete evidence your wife was the transgressor if it comes up down the road. Personally, I would find the one strongest piece of evidence that you can look at and say, yep, that happened, screw her, and sequester it. This way, you still have all the important materials above, then destroy the rest of it, and let Marie see the remains as proof. Don't turn them over to be used as collateral against you, and don't provide the destruction evidence to your ex. Just either involve Marie in the destruction or give her the remains so she can pass them along. User Wazeltov said, I'm of two minds on this. I'm assuming that the laws you are referring to are revenge laws, where it is illegal to disseminate explicit media without the consent of everyone involved, and it sounds like your youngest daughter just went through an intense falling out where her ex-boyfriend broke those laws, which was very upsetting to her. Obviously, my heart goes out to your daughter, as she certainly felt victimized and vulnerable from her naked pictures being distributed without her consent. I can understand why she is being empathetic towards her mother's situation, as they do resemble each other. Her mom doesn't want you to have those videos and she's in them. However, there are some meaningful differences between the two situations. The media you have is evidence of infidelity, and you have not distributed the media in any way, nor plan to, but there's always the chance that you could, even if you never would, and that possibility is the real issue here. I think you're NTA as of right now, but I do think you need to come up with a plan to extricate your need to have evidence that your ex-wife cheated on you from the physical copies of the explicit media. Even though your wife is an awful person, I don't think making her live with the knowledge that you have that kind of sexually explicit media of her is admirable on your part, especially with your daughter recently going through something similar. It seems very slightly hypocritical that you understood that you needed to pursue justice for your daughter and then keep her mother's sexually explicit media that you received under similar circumstances. Again, you're not the asshole because your reasoning seems well-intentioned and there's been no harm done, but the cat is out of the bag that you own these materials. I think the right thing to do would be to find a way to keep the evidence that you need while removing the explicit portions. Update. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this, but since someone messaged me, I thought I'd share. I don't know if I'll give another update after this one though. Long story short, my ex got arrested and is facing charges. For details, please continue reading. Context. I had a security system to which my children knew the security code, but for unimportant reasons, there was a switch in the company. When I upgraded, I was given a new code and security pad to put it in. Also, at the advice of the people installing the new system, I moved it to another spot. I told my oldest two kids what the new code was in person, as I don't like texting that type of information for fear of phone hacking. Since my youngest daughter wasn't talking to me and didn't want to hear from me, she didn't know about the change in codes. Now, on to what happened. I left town for a trip I'd scheduled a while back that my youngest daughter was aware of. This trip was going to be about 7 days long, so my neighbors knew to keep their eyes peeled for anything suspicious. 2 days into my trip, I got an alert that my house was being broken into. The company called and I told them that I did not enter my home and wasn't expecting anyone. My neighbors also called the authorities. I could tell by the security cam that it was my ex-wife and she had someone else there, but I didn't recognize them. The authorities had detained my ex, who insisted that it was all a simple misunderstanding. I told them over the phone that it wasn't, and I wanted to press charges. Then I laughed when the call was over. I laughed a lot, hard, and to the point where I was in tears and struggling to breathe. There was something about my trashy ex getting punished by the law that felt so liberating to me, but my joy took a pause when I started getting calls from my youngest. Turns out, she gave the security code to her mom with the intent to search my home for the tapes while I was gone and get them. My ex went on a different day than what was planned, and that's how everything happened. My daughter asked me not to press charges, but I went forward with it. My daughter was angry with me, and we got into an argument where she blamed me for still having the tapes and telling her that I had the tapes. We haven't really spoken since, but my other daughter convinced me to go to therapy. After a couple of sessions, I discovered that one of the reasons why I held on to the tapes was because I never felt as if my ex was punished enough for what she did. She never apologized, never showed remorse, made excuses, and that has always pissed me off. It's also why I'm refusing to drop the charges. I'm still processing what all this means, but that's how it is right now. This next post was made in the Surviving Infidelity subreddit by a user named Slow Fader. The post is titled, "My wife had an affair with a female coworker. 6 months after D-Day, she attempted reconciliation. Then she went on vacation with her AP. D-Day was 6 months ago this week. I wasn't suspicious in the least, but accidentally saw a text message that caused me to look at another message which revealed that my wife was having an affair with a female coworker. She claims it never went further than sexting, but the text referenced physical acts. Giving her the benefit of the doubt, we'll call it an emotional affair. She was also having problems with drinking. She was apologetic when she got caught and agreed to go to counseling and do whatever it took to make things work. I went to counseling too and was attempting reconciliation. We both grew up Mormon and left the church a few years back, but because of that experience, we are both a bit messed up as to what is acceptable and normal in a relationship and with alcohol, etc. That makes this doubly hard. I was raised to think homosexuality was wrong, but have changed and don't have a problem with it. I do have a bit of a problem when my wife decides to cheat on me by having an affair with a woman. Both of us want to make things work for the kids. At least that is what we say. We both came from divorced parents and wanted our kids to not have that. Cutting off her AP/coworker was not really possible given the circumstances. I asked her to not be involved with her outside of work. She agreed. She also cut back on drinking and going out. She said that she was open and willing to do whatever. Gradually, I noticed that she was still being sneaky from time to time. After I caught her and confronted her, she no longer texted regularly with AP on text messages. Instead, she went to Snapchat where I could see she was the most recent message but couldn't see what was shared. Last month, I was going to help her with her phone and she snatched it away nervously when a notification sound went off and I saw it was a snap from the AP. She said they just chat casually about work stuff. On a weekend? Yeah, right. She assures me nothing is going on. I think it is more that her AP is not willing to leave her marriage and so my wife doesn't really have an option. I repeated again that I would prefer she not be involved with her. Last weekend, I went out with her to a COVID-safe outdoor work event. She drank heavily and afterwards convinced me to go somewhere else with a group that included her AP. I pretended to be okay and went along with it, including an awkward interaction with the AP. Driving home a very drunk wife, she talked about how good and loyal I was and then proceeded to tell me the perfect person for me was someone else we knew. She said that she still wanted to make it work. She also told me for the first time that she had told a parent and sibling of hers about what she had done. Yesterday, she told one of my siblings what she had done, without telling me first, and I think knowing that it would piss me off. She had a semi-valid excuse for why, but didn't think it was bad until I said, "What if I called up another of your siblings and told?" Today, I was driving her to the airport. She is going for a weekend away with some co-workers. She previously named 2 people that were not her AP, and I was okay with it. As we are pulling up to drop her off, I ask where she is staying and she describes a different place than what she told me originally. I said, "Why did it change?" She said it just didn't work out. I said, "So who is going X and Y?" She says, "Yeah, oh, and AP." I lost it and called her a dirty jerk. I took her to the drop and we talked for a couple of minutes. She tried to gaslight me and said we talked about this. I told you. I said no you didn't, and I know she knows we didn't by the way she disclosed it to me. She promises that nothing is happening between them, and I said I don't know that and I have no reason to trust you. She tells me that she doesn't love AP, she just liked the friendship and got caught up in it. Also said that AP doesn't want to destroy her own marriage. I told her that she needed to figure out what she wants out of life, and she says I want this and our family. I said your decisions don't reflect that. I told her to take the weekend to think about it. After I left, she called to apologize and said she should have been honest with me and that she doesn't know why she is being like this. She offered to stay home. I told her no. She should go and have fun and think about if that is what she wants. She said I should do the same. I said I know what I want. I'm not the one that went and had an affair. I'm still here despite what you've done. I said she really needs to think about the consequences, reminding her that divorce is expensive. I said I'm not saying that to threaten her, just to say that she should know I won't be taken advantage of in that situation. She knows that financially we are stronger together. It has been 6 months and this is the closest I have been to calling it quits. I know some will see that as the best option. Others may not. I wanted reconciliation and knew that it wouldn't be easy, but she is making it even harder. Based on what I've written, I'm guessing most of you can see the writing on the wall better than I can. She is probably done, right? Should I keep trying? Is there anything to salvage, or should I just cut my losses and stop the status quo? Am I stupid? Update. I won't recount my whole story here. It's been 6 months since D-Day when I found my wife was having an emotional affair with a female co-worker. I made a post in r/surviving infidelity and got lit up with people telling me to leave after my WS went on a weekend getaway with a group of co-workers that included the AP. The most egregious part is that she told me the AP was going about 30 seconds before I dropped her off at the airport. When she got back, we had a talk and she told me I had ruined her weekend. The AP was angry at her the whole weekend because she was inside with the others when I dropped WS off at the airport and saw how upset I was. Anyway, I told her that I couldn't deal with this dishonesty anymore and I needed more commitment from her if this was going to work. She agreed. She deleted Snapchat and agreed to limit interactions with AP and another girl that WS works with whom I don't trust. WS began communicating better, making a bigger deal of telling me where she was and where she was going and with whom. Now, 3 weeks later, as she is in bed, I go to put something on her nightstand next to where her phone is. She immediately grabbed her phone to keep it from me. I asked why she did that and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What are you hiding? Why did you grab it away?" As she unlocked her phone, I could see WhatsApp was open. She quickly swiped away and held it where I couldn't see the screen, but I know she was deleting messages. I said, "Who are you texting?" She said, "No one." I said, "Be honest, I saw you're texting someone, let me see your phone." She said, "Why?" And I explained, because I don't trust her. I said, "Show me who you were messaging." She opened up iMessages and showed me that. I said, "No, show me WhatsApp." She admits it was the girl I don't like and that the messages were about going to smoke pot together. WS knows I don't like this coworker and that I don't approve of them smoking together. She then swipes away another thing and shows me the screen. I said, "What does it matter now? You just lied to me and deleted messages right in front of me. Of course you'll show me now." We talked for a bit and calmed down, but the feeling of betrayal is back. I thought when I put my foot down after the weekend getaway that she was really serious this time, but this shook me again. I brought it up again last night and she's like, "You're still on that?" I said, "Yeah, it hurts." She listened and understood and says, "What do you want from me?" I want honesty. I don't want you to lie and hide things. There is just so much to unpack in all of this. For privacy's sake, I'm not giving every detail, but I have some reasons to give her a little slack. Not a lot, just a little. But this hurts. She keeps saying the right things and that she wants to make this work, but some of her actions don't match. Final update. It's been almost a year since I drove her to the airport, only to discover that her girls' weekend involved her AP. A lot has happened since then. We tried for another month after this post above, but ultimately she opened up and admitted that she liked girls and probably had for a long time. That was the moment where everything changed. I knew I was going to continue to try and reconcile with someone who wasn't living their truth. So we opted for divorce. She was already looking for another place at that point, thinking I would kick her out. She moved out a month later and we told the kids that they would have 2 houses. She met a new girl on Tinder and started a whirlwind relationship with her. They broke up in the fall, which sent my then STBX into a spiral. I ended up having the kids until early this year and we're now back to joint custody. It was a hard, traumatic year. Ultimately, I'm better off now. I feel bad for the kids, but hopefully it will be better for them having two parents living their own lives than trying to make something impossible work. The divorce was finalized in December. It could have been done in July, but she sat on it and kept changing little things. Now, we've begun the process of living the rest of our lives in our new reality. She recently got back together with the girlfriend she met after we decided to divorce. I'm dating someone and in a pretty good place emotionally. Looking back, I feel stupid for when I made my post in r/surviving infidelity and was dismissive of everyone who was stating the obvious. My WS was cheating on me, was lying to me, and fit just about every stereotypical trait we see assigned to cheaters. My advice to anyone reading this now is definitely from a place of more cynicism than it would have been a year ago. If you suspect your spouse still isn't being honest with you, they're probably not. Divorce is painful and hard, but it's better than suffering for no reason. A weight has definitely been lifted. I have a new lease on some aspects of my life. I hope that you all find success in your reconciliations, but if it doesn't work out, don't lose hope and realize things can get better. User Curls the Fangirl said, "I am so relieved. I'm glad he left. I feel for anyone that struggles with their sexual orientation and can't be true to themselves. But as soon as you cheat on your partner, you're in the wrong. Many people figure out their sexual orientation without cheating. Without going into too many details, back in 2020, I had one of the most difficult years of my life. My ex hurt me. He's still awaiting trial because he's a creep. And I still feel hurt when I think about it, but I'm so relieved that we never married each other the way we had been talking about." Edit, to clarify, he didn't commit a crime against me. He committed it against someone else. He emotionally hurt and tried to manipulate me into staying. I need to work on my wording. User Not So Evil Dr. Porkchop said, "I can understand how hard it was for his wife to deal with her sexual orientation, especially because they grew up Mormon, but that doesn't excuse at all the cheating, lying, and gaslighting she put her husband through, especially for months. I'm glad that they separated and that OP is now in a better place, especially for the children. I can't imagine how hard it must be to see your mom spiraling like that." User Sleepy Dormouse said, "It's so frustrating when people cling to relationships that are already dead as a form of keeping the family together. From the very beginning, it was clear that OP's wife was not committed to the marriage. She did little to try to rebuild the trust she broke and made minimal effort to repair the relationship. It would have spared them a lot of pain if they had just ended things earlier." This final post was made by a user named Strawberry Cheese in the Relationship Advice subreddit. The post is titled, "I found out my family is hiding my fiance's affair with my best friend. How do I confront everyone? I need some serious advice on how to navigate any of this. I found out a week ago that basically my entire family has been helping my fiance hide his affair with my best friend. I created this account because I honestly have no one else to tell this to, so my brain figured internet strangers would be best. None of my family and friends have Reddit. For extra emotional context, my fiance and I have been together since 8th grade. I do apologize if this gets long, but there's so much to unpack, and I just want to refresh myself with everything I have, as well as figure out the best way to confront my family, best friend, and fiance with at least some dignity. Here are names and ages for context for everyone involved. Richard half-brother, Maria half-sister, Angie my mom, Peach best friend, and Alex my fiance. So a week ago, Alex was taking a shower and had left his phone on our bed. My fiance and I have an open phone policy, seeing as we both struggled with getting cheated on in past relationships. I was packing my suitcase for a family trip that is happening after my rehearsal dinner tomorrow. I heard his phone keep going off. He yelled from our shower if I could mute his phone. I went to get his phone and saw that it was Peach calling him. I was curious at first, but seeing as she's part of my bridal party, I didn't find it too suspicious. I muted the phone and soon messaged Peach from my own phone. Here is the paraphrase of our conversation. Me: "Hey Peach, my fiance is in the shower. What did you need?" Peach: "Oh, nothing. Just wanted to confirm with him the flowers for your bouquet and aisle." Me: "That's weird. I didn't change my mind on any flowers or anything. The florist was contacted last month and everything was paid for already by Tony, my mom's husband." Peach: "Are you sure? I remember him telling me you changed your mind." After that, it was the usual wedding talk. In hindsight, I should have found it very weird that she would call him about 6 times to confirm a flower choice when she simply could have either texted me or Alex. When Alex got out of the shower, I told him Peach tried calling him about my flower choices. I asked him what made him think I changed my mind on the flowers for the wedding. He paused for a bit. I now know he was basically stalling and doing the "oh, I'm thinking" face when I had asked. He then said that he thought I had mentioned it in passing during a dinner. I told him that I didn't recall that. He then just shrugged and grabbed his phone and went back into the bathroom. I hate to be one of those people, but for once my gut actually sank. I got this really paranoid feeling that I couldn't shake. I tried to convince myself that it was just my old cheating trauma trying to creep back, yet I just couldn't let this go. Alex and I had dinner and I pushed through all the way until it was time to go to bed. I pretended to fall asleep first. Alex and I usually cuddle to fall asleep. When I knew he was in a deep enough sleep, I went to check his phone again. I checked his Instagram, Snapchat, and messages, but I couldn't find anything. Then I went to his Facebook Messenger. He uses Messenger to communicate with his family overseas. I only saw his main family members, and most of the messages were about getting plane tickets to come to the wedding. We were supposed to get married in December with a winter wonderland themed wedding. However, with my previous relationships, I checked his archives on Messenger. That's when the horrific truth came to light. There was a group chat with Peach, Alex, Richard, Angie, and Maria. The group chat was established a year ago where basically Alex and Peach confessed to having an affair to my family. My mom did shame them at first, yet she later asked Alex if he truly loved Peach, because you can't help who you love. He said he was absolutely sure and that he also loved me. Then Maria and Richard suggested that he bring up an open relationship to me. They both are in open relationships and married, and apparently it's working for them in whatever la la land they live in. At this point, Alex and I were already engaged. Alex mentioned to them that it seemed too far deep to try to bring it up. Angie said that they would cover for Alex and Peach until he felt strong enough to bring up an open relationship with me. As I was reading, all I could think was how my family could betray me like that. How could Peach betray me like that? We've been friends since kindergarten. We even grew up with Alex. How could she process in her mind to screw my fiance and say that she loves him too? All of this in this disgusting group chat? For Alex to have the nerve to say he loves me as well? For him to know firsthand what it's like to be betrayed like this, I honestly wanted to vomit. However, I was just taking screenshot after screenshot. The more I read down, the more I found out that Peach took my spot on our previous family trip. I got a really bad stomach bug a while ago that caused me not to go. I can't even begin to imagine what they did on that trip. The fact that my mother was okay with all of this is what hurts the most. The fact she's known for a whole year that my fiance was cheating on me. That's taking the longest to sink in, I feel. There is more in the group chat, but these were the major points. I've known for a whole week. It's been eating at me inside, and I want to explode and cuss them all out. I want to ruin their lives the way they ruined mine. It all hurts so much, and I just really want advice on how to confront them. How do I even begin? What do I even say? The anger I feel is so intense that if I let it all out, I'd look insane. Please, Reddit, anything will help. I'm planning on confronting them tomorrow at our rehearsal dinner. Update. So I did wind up taking bits and pieces of advice from everyone. Last night, I constantly went back and forth between going ghost or fully exploding on everyone. I decided to take a mix of both routes. I sent the screenshots to Alex's parents and explained the whole situation to them. I was honestly expecting them to ignore it or not believe me. However, they called rather quickly. They asked me if I had any hard proof of them cheating besides their confession. I confided in them that I didn't. They asked for more screenshots, and I basically sent them a good chunk of what I had. His mother made me feel awful for sending them. She was sobbing and apologizing for her son. She soon became inconsolable. His father took the phone and asked if there was anything his son could do to make it up to me. This early morning, I was offended he asked that. Yet, I saw it from his perspective later. I asked him if I could be frank, and he agreed. I told him that unless his son could shrivel up and disappear, then there wasn't really anything he could say. His father said he understood. I asked him if they could keep this to themselves until I brought it up to Alex. They said they could, and we ended the call. For a while, I thought vomiting from stress was rare, but it finally happened. Alex heard me, I guess, because he woke up and tried to rub my back. I held my hand up and cleaned myself up. This was around 7 a.m. Alex had a concern in his voice and was asking if I was okay. For once, I actually saw nothing but red, yet I kept my composure. I have no idea why, but I guess that will be my superpower I'll hold on to. I ignored him and just went back to sleep. I woke back up at 8 a.m. to start getting ready for the rehearsal dinner. Alex told me he had to get some things done before heading to the restaurant. I told him that was fine and that I'd see him later. Before he left, he said he loved me and that this was one of the days he was excited for. I said me too, trying not to let too much rage show behind it. Once he left, I gathered all of the screenshots. For those who don't know, you can schedule text messages to be sent out at a certain time. I decided to do this to send them to everyone: Peach's family, our friend groups, his family, as well as mine. I scheduled it to go out at 1:25 p.m. This would be the halfway point of the dinner when people would be dropping off gifts early for us, etc. I gathered the black hole of stress forming in me and headed to the restaurant when it was time. My mother and her husband were already there. My mother hugged me and all I could do was stand there. Feeling her hands on me almost felt like she was personally violating my spirit. I did a quick tap hug so she wouldn't get suspicious and we headed inside. Guests started flowing in and everyone was surprisingly on time. Once everyone was gathered, Alex went on this whole spiel about how happy he was that everyone could come and how excited he was for his family for the next dinner. He mentioned how I was the love of his life and how he was so happy our families would mingle and we could be one. I wanted to ask him how dare he say that shit, but all I could manage were fake smiles and nods. Peach was basically looking like a clueless dog, smiling and clapping for us. To see this happen in real life is truly mind-boggling. The lengths people will go to have their cake and eat it too. I could barely eat as the stress was getting to me so badly. At the time I set for the messages, people's phones started buzzing and Alex's and Peach's phones were blowing up. I must admit that for once, a genuine smile crept onto my face. It was like watching an entire kingdom crumble and fall. The horrified faces of Peach and Alex when they looked at me were golden. It's the one highlight I will hold on to from this emotional day. My aunt went ballistic. She started calling my mom a cruel, heartless jerk over and over. My mother hurriedly checked her phone and saw that I had sent her the screenshots. She started screaming and becoming irate, saying I was really trying to ruin her life again. My grandparents' reaction hurt the most because they started screaming at my mother. My grandmother was trying, along with a few other guests, to hold my aunt back as she started screaming every expletive she could. My grandfather was screaming at my mother that he didn't raise a whore. At this point, everyone was in screaming and crying hysterics. My other bridesmaids were cussing Peach out and calling her a slut. I hate to admit it again, but I took joy in that. My grandfather went on to scream at Alex with some things I can't say here because he was very explicit. I just started laughing and sobbing. I had so many emotions that I genuinely think my body didn't know what to do, so it did everything. The tears just kept coming. My cousin escorted me outside as fast as she could, with Alex chasing us down. He kept screaming my name and begging to talk. I ignored him and my cousin was pushing him away from her car so she could get in and drive off. She took me to my aunt's house and told me to stay there and not answer the door for anyone. I kind of felt like a kid being left at home alone. I didn't do much, I just sat on the floor. That's when I started bawling. All the emotions I've kept pent up for a whole week finally came out. After about another hour, my aunt and cousin came back home. They hugged me for a good 5 minutes. When we finally broke apart, I noticed that my aunt had a few scratches on her. I'm assuming they couldn't hold her back from my mom for much longer. My aunt caught me up on everything. Apparently, after my cousin drove off with me, Alex came back in and started screaming at Peach for ruining everything. They got into a screaming match while some of our friends tried to split them apart. My grandparents, aunt, and Tony were drilling into my mother for answers. Tony was the most livid. Apparently, during the family trip I couldn't attend, my mom told Tony that I had offered my ticket to Peach so she could enjoy a nice break for herself. At this point, Tony was screaming and reading some of her messages out loud. She was begging him to stop and saying that she could explain. My aunt started adding that my mom better start explaining because all she saw was a worthless mother and a vile person. Apparently, this set my mother off and she started screaming about how she hated me, how I ruined her life and made it difficult. She claimed that she could never be happy because I was always a constant reminder of her biggest mistake ever and that she regretted not aborting me when she had the chance. That set my aunt off and she basically pounced on her. For context, my aunt is infertile. In her words, I was the daughter she never got to have. So in her mind, she went full mama bear mode on my birth giver. To make a long story short, here is everything else that happened. Tony is divorcing my mom. He's had suspicions for a few months that she's cheating again. Peach exposed Alex's text to her in which he admitted he was sleeping with her because he felt I was growing distant a while back and that he was lonely and didn't know how to bring it up to me. Peach's father spammed her with calls and will be cutting her off financially. My mother has been on a tirade with our family, exclaiming I'm an evil person for destroying her world again. My half-siblings felt it wasn't their place to say anything to me and that I should have expected Alex to look elsewhere because humans aren't monogamous and people love who they love. A lot more has happened, but to avoid my brain from imploding from stress and anger, it's finally out in the open. I've been getting texts and calls from everyone, but at the moment I've left my phone in the other room. I'm updating this from my aunt's computer. My aunt offered for me to stay with her until I get out of this jumbled mess. I accepted it since I have no intention of going back to that apartment. I've already emailed my landlord and will be handling it all next week. My boss emailed me back and said I was allowed to use some PTO for as long as I need. I will definitely take it since I'm highly considering moving somewhere quiet and peaceful. I'm thinking maybe Iowa or even North Carolina. I've heard they have a good cost of living in those states. I want to thank you all so much again. I truly appreciate all the support I've been given and received. I'll be offline after today for a few days. I feel like I need to disconnect from everything and actually comfort myself. My aunt and cousin are at my place getting some of my things and my cat. Alex is there begging them not to take my things and asking them to have me just talk to him. I don't know what he thinks a conversation will do. The emotional and mental scars I have are not going to go away for a while. I also know I have a long journey ahead of me in therapy. A lot of people have pointed out that I was severely abused by my mother. Now that I know how much she hates me, it will be easier to go no contact now. Update 2. I messaged Alex's parents the screenshots and they were very upset. I scheduled text messages to be sent out to everyone during the rehearsal dinner. I also sent the screenshots to Peach's dad. I made sure it went to Peach's family as well. I also sent them to my family, Alex's family, and my own. Once the scheduled time passed, everything went into chaos. Peach was being berated by my now ex-friends about why things escalated. Peach's father cut her off financially. My grandparents, aunt, and Tony started grilling my mom for answers. Under the pressure, she confessed to hating me. She thinks I'm the reason her life has been difficult and ruined. I found out that I was the product of a long-running affair. After my mom insulted me, my aunt physically assaulted her. My cousin got me out quickly when the chaos ensued. Alex tried to chase us down, but my cousin maneuvered between him and took me to my aunt's place. That's where I'm still at. My phone has been blowing up since then. My aunt came home and recapped everything for me when she got back. They got my things from the apartment, and that's where my last update left off. However, things have escalated heavily. Once I woke up and took a long hot shower, I turned my phone back on. I couldn't even unlock it or clear notifications before I got a call from one of my bridesmaids. I answered, and she immediately started screaming at me about how I could ignore Peach and Alex in their time of need. At first, I was confused since I don't give a damn about them anymore. I asked her not to yell at me, but she continued anyway. She screamed that Peach had self-harmed. When she sent me the images, they were very surface level, enough for a scar to appear and a little blood. I wanted to scoff on the phone because at this point I knew she was doing it to rally people on her side since I wouldn't respond to her texts. Yet she also told me that Alex tried to overdose. His friends found him at my apartment all groggy. They took him to the hospital where he was cleared since they didn't have to pump his stomach. They are keeping him under watch for the next 72 hours, which is good. After this, my friend group has been split heavily since I didn't respond to either of them before they did this. I still have no intention of talking to either of them. I don't really care what they do for attention as long as they leave me the hell alone. During the initial confrontation with my egg donor, Tony found out that my egg donor lied to him and said Peach could take my ticket to go with them on the trip. They got home and started arguing more because Tony brought up his suspicions about my mother cheating. She started screaming at him and confessing everything, telling him that my half-siblings aren't his and a lot of other very hurtful things. He had to call the police on her to escort her off his property. Tony followed up with me this morning and told me that my mother confessed that I was the product of a long-term affair she had with his best friend. Yet after finding out Tony is getting papers, she has been trying to backpedal. She has been calling my aunt, begging her to convince Tony not to do this or else she will be homeless. She has been trying to call Tony and his family, but they have all been ignoring her. Yet, this wasn't enough for my egg donor. She knows my aunt's schedule and tried to come over to assault me. My cousin was with me still, so she couldn't get in. But hearing her scream at me, some of my very low insecurities hurt, and I started to have a panic attack. My cousin took me upstairs when we heard a loud crash. My mother broke through the window and ran upstairs and attacked me. For once in my life, I hit my egg donor back. All the anger I had towards her, I finally let out. My cousin was struggling to separate us and had to run to get our neighbor. I only have a few scratches and bite marks, but outside of that, I am okay. I'm also placing charges against my egg donor. Hopefully, I can get a restraining order. My mom ran off before the police came, but I gave them Tony's address just in case she tries going back there. I see that those evil people aren't going to stop until they get a response out of me. However, on a weird note, I got a call from my half-sister. She tried apologizing and I cut her off because I don't want to hear it anymore. She then scoffed and had the nerve to ask if I could watch my nieces while she, her husband, and her boyfriend all go on a trip. If she wanted me to watch her nieces, then she would have to ask through my aunt. She started screaming how I was being unfair to her and punishing her kids. I told her I was punishing her. She said never mind and that I couldn't see my nieces. I knew this could happen, but it hurt my heart. I'm pretty sure she's telling them I hate them. I'm keeping the screenshots, and my aunt and cousin said they would back me up if they reach out in the future. This is so much, but I'm expecting more to happen, honestly. One thing I know about my egg donor is that she hates losing. I know she sees this as a loss and won't stop until she comes out on top. My half-brother has me blocked on everything, and I'm pretty sure he is siding with my half-sister. I'm just really emotionally distraught, but I wanted to update you guys. I'll update again if anything else happens, but if not, this will probably be my final update because I just want this shit show to end. In good news though, I start therapy next week. My aunt and cousin are currently packing up Alex's things and dropping them off at a buddy of his. His name is Kyle, and he's been helping me through all of this as well. He dropped off my favorite fruit this morning at my aunt's. He also assured me that I can talk to him anytime. I asked him if he would be in further communication with Alex, and he said no. He's just holding on to his things until his parents can pick them up. I really appreciate him.